He's still missing. Still not here. I'm starting to get concerned that like.
I looked in the closet.
Did you check it out? Not there.
Yeah. No.
Oh man, we might need to call Sarah. This is Red Card Radio. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, whenever you're listening from. Thanks for tuning in. Red Card Radio is a weekly look at the Premier League from two friends this week who support different clubs. As always, this week, my name is James. I support Arsenal. That's still Sean over there. He still supports Tottenham. And AWOL is still Brad. He is in parts unknown doing goodness knows what. All right.
I don't even know. I actually don't know where he is.
I do know where he is. But I was playing it up all week to be like, oh man, he's missing.
Is this a hostage negotiation situation?
I think he embezzled all of the Red Card Radio money and took the family to Disney. So he's
I'm not an accounting major, but I think even a 6% interest, which would be a very generous interest on $0, would not amount to a lot.
I mean, I have to run the numbers with the CFO to see what the Red Card Radio accounts are looking like.
Yeah. To run that past the CFO and see where we land.
We'll do an audit real quick. We'll do a quick maths on that.
Do an audit with the CFO on what 6% on $0 is.
All right. If you're just tuning in, if you've been catching us all week, whatever, we really appreciate that you click the link that you are listening to us right now. If you could hit that subscribe button, ring the sub notification bell. If you're on one of the podcast sites, a follow, 5-star review if your platform does so allow it. All those things really do help us out. We're still growing, trying to reach new people, and we just generally have fun doing it. So we would appreciate your support. Join our Discord. It's in the descriptions. Leave a comment on YouTube so we can talk about it. All those good things really helps us out.
Hey, too many words. Like, subscribe, rate, and review. Do it. Done.
I'm a very
out.
I got lots of words. Anyway,
loquacious.
So I was gonna
loquacious.
I was gonna use it, but I wasn't sure if it was gonna play. I didn't want to. Sometimes people accuse me of using a vocabulary that is too advanced. I guess I don't know.
I was waiting for you to say it, but I wanted you to tell me that you go out in general public and people accuse you of being loquacious.
No,
I would have demanded an instance that someone used loquacious in their general vocabulary out in public.
No one has described me personally as loquacious, but I have been.
Okay, all right. I was waiting. I was getting close to the mic. Like, please tell me.
You're all right.
Tell me, David.
What we've got tonight. So this is the preview of Match Week 31. Yesterday's episode was the news. Wednesday's episode was the review of Match Week 31. If you're catching this is Friday morning when it's live. We've got a Match Week 31 preview for you. 10 games this weekend. Still all Premier League action. The FA Cup doesn't return until later in April. I think it's technically next weekend before we have any kind of like weird scheduling shenanigans. But with that said, Match Week 31, 10 games. Let me just run them down for you. Kicking off Saturday morning, we've got Aston Villa hosting Newcastle United. That's for you loyal listeners, that's just United from here on out. Chelsea and Brighton follow. Everton host Fulham, Southampton and Crystal Palace, Spurs, Bournemouth, Wolves, Brentford, and then rounding out Saturday at the Etihad is Manchester City and Leicester. That's Dean Smith taking charge of that match for Leicester. So we all got real high hopes for Leicester in that match. Sunday morning is West Ham United and Arsenal. Then Nottingham Forest, Manchester United, henceforth will be referred to as Manchester. And then I believe it's Monday. I think it's Monday is the Leeds Liverpool match. I'll just double check that very swiftly. Yes, that is Monday. So that is what we've got on offer this week. These are the Premier League matches that are coming up. I think we want to kind of kick it off at Villa Park. Unai Emery and co. They're hot. Aston Villa is hot right now. Newcastle is hot right now.
This is probably the largest implications of the week, and not only the largest implications of the week, the biggest game, like probably the foreseeable inform, look at the table. It's probably checks all the boxes of biggest game of the week, and it kicks us off on Saturday. It's Saturday morning.
Yeah, I'm quickly looking. I mean, I guess everything. These are the teams that are closest to each other in the table, in terms of like both form and like how they're playing right now.
That's what I meant. Form, skill on the field,
player player skill levels,
table implications. Like this has all you want. And Unai, man, why'd you let him go?
What
was going on over there?
So it's funny because like Unai
he took Villa like they were a phoenix. The Villa Phoenixes. They're going to change that line to a phoenix.
We've seen how trying to change club mascots has gone over in the Premier League or in English football. It sinks like lead.
Well, we saw how it went over in Columbus over here in the States too. They've tried to change Columbus's logo about 3 times, and that has been voted down.
Yeah. So Unai Emery is obviously a good coach. He's won multiple Europa Leagues. He's a good coach. His issue at Arsenal was just that there were too many egos in the Arsenal squad, and the club hierarchy didn't have the backbone at the time to support the coach at that time. So like he was dealing.
So I'm curious what changed of what you say at the time. What changed because ownership and leadership didn't change.
Well, ownership didn't change, but the like the board of directors and like Edu came in. Edu was not in charge when Unai Emery was. Okay. He wasn't the sporting director when Unai was in charge. We had Don Rual, and then we had Sven Mislap. Was another guy, and then there was another. We had like a group of 3 who kind of were the brains behind the operations, and there was just a lot of dysfunction there, and none of them really had the backbone or the Arsenal currency, at least. Like, you know what I mean? Like a club legend, like Edu is a club legend. Like he was an invincible. Yeah. He has Arsenal cred, right? So like if he's like, look, it's not working. If Arteta comes to Edu and says, I want to freeze Aubameyang out, then Edu's like, all right, that's your call. I will back you on it. We'll find a way to get Aubameyang out of here. And like where Unai needed to do that with certain players, like with Ozil, with Aubameyang, like with these players that just were unsettled and just kind of doing their own thing, Mustafi's, Socrates, like the list goes on. He didn't have the backup to do it. But in a situation at Villa where he can probably put his stamp on the team, and you can see
he comes in and
and the expectations were significantly lower. Thing, right? Like, so if you look at
he came into Villa and they were like, we would just not like to be in the championship next year.
But
Unai Emery's like, say less.
We were talking about them. The joke was Villa's just vibing in 11th, right? Like they were just chilling. They were happy. They weren't close to relegation, and they were just vibing. They were happy.
Yeah, it wasn't even that. Is that they skyrocketed out of the bottom 3. They were flirting with the bottom 3 for a while, and then Unai came in, and then they just came in.
Yeah,
and then he came in and he just got him out of that relegation zone.
Yep.
Then they vibed for a second, and then they just like took off like a rocket.
Yeah.
And here they are. They're knocking at the door. Like if United's not careful with this game, they're 56 points. Villa's 47. Now they do have one. They have one more game played at 47, but that's 3. That's 2 games. That's 6 points.
Yeah, like
they're going to be away from Villa.
That's the thing.
If United's not careful with this,
well, yeah. If United, so like big beneficiaries from this match, if Villa were to be successful against United, is mainly Tottenham, I think, because Tottenham could get their way back into that Champions League conversation. And I mean, like Newcastle still have big games coming up. They have to play Arsenal. I think they have at least another big one more big game. I can't put my finger on which game it is. But like, so there is a situation where like, yeah, Aston Villa are currently 9 points behind them, but if they win this game at 6 points, they could, they're close enough to make an argument to like catch them. I don't think Villa will catch Newcastle. Like I don't want that to be the takeaway. But Villa are where they expect to be right now. That is their
My
expectation.
curiosity would be that is Coutinho injured
I don't know off the top of my head.
or out of favor?
I would
Let me see if he's
imagine
on the bench
I,
for any of these
I
games.
would imagine out of
He's not
favor.
on the bench. He has to be injured.
Okay.
He has to be injured or out of favor
Coutinho
because
is
in the two recent games that I've looked at, he has not been on the bench or on the field.
Coutinho has
Um,
got to be was
where I
Steven
was
Gerrard's guy. 100% was Steven Gerrard's guy.
sure, but that's a talent that you could even as a super sub, just
Yeah.
with his left foot is his right foot is magic, cutting in from the left. Um, but I think what's gonna give you Mensch no what's gonna give United trouble here.
Yeah.
What's gonna give Newcastle trouble here is Watkins. Is if Botman and Shar can handle Watkins and his movement off the ball because
That's going to be
he
the
just
thing.
finds a way all the time. He just finds space.
They're going to be physically
And
imposing on Ollie Watkins, but if Watkins can get behind, if he can get through,
yeah,
then that's a different. Like obviously, they're not going to score any headed goals. The crosses, that's not really. You're not going to score a lot of goals crossed against Botman and
no,
Shar. Like that's not going to happen,
no, no, no.
especially if
And
Dunk
the
is
only
one
time
of your fullbacks.
I actually only saw that with I believe it was your guy Jesus.
Yeah.
It was his goal where he is on the hip of Van Dyke and then backs off to
Oh
build
yeah,
space,
you're
and
talking
then
about
next thing for his header in
yeah.
and just finds the space because the defender behind him is not even close. And he just backs off of Van Dyke, and there's 10 yards of space. Van Dyke has no chance to turn around.
I mean, to be fair, it that was a perfectly placed cross for where it needed to be. Like if it was any
Yeah.
shorter, Van
And
Dyke wins it. If it's any longer,
Jesus,
Kanate probably
Jesus
come. Yeah.
makes the correct.
Yo, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
sure.
absolutely. But like,
But
do
it was a good job to get into space, is what I
yes,
mean. And
okay,
that's Ollie Watkins does that. Is give the nudge on the hip. I'm right here, right behind you. Nope, I'm not. I'm three
yeah,
yards behind.
yeah,
And that's the space you need sometimes as a striker when you're shorter. So maybe the headers won't matter, but it'll need to be perfect. And can they be perfect from
whoever,
Benatia
yeah,
or
whoever.
yeah, whoever? Just pick your winger. Yeah.
I mean, do you? So Newcastle kind of have United kind of have a propensity to draw matches this season. Do you think this is a match that they can win? Do you think this is a match that Villa wins? Do you think it ends in a draw?
I think on current form of both, this is probably a draw, just because they're. This seems like at this point in the season, with the way they're both playing, this is the rock and a hard place. This is the immovable force versus the unstoppable, whatever the saying is.
Yeah, I kind of
This is just fist meets fits
yeah.
at the same time, and then the cartoon blasts apart. They just seem like they're two trains heading towards each other at full speed.
You think,
It just seems like it's got draw written all over it because they're both playing really well at the right time.
I think my biggest concern, or not, it's not even like a concern, but like I think that Newcastle's defense is probably just too good in my estimation.
Really?
I think that
Okay.
Villa's defense is more prone to error. And we've seen that a couple times this season, especially under Unai, where certain players just make bad passes and it leads to opportunities. I mean, they have a phenomenal goalkeeper in Emi Martinez, but there is just some, I think, defensive liability along the back line, and I think that Newcastle will explode. I think Newcastle's going to win this game.
The a curiosity I have, Is the Moreno they have at left back the same Moreno that was on Liverpool a few years ago?
Oh, that's a good question.
I can
Alex,
find that out shortly. I was just curious.
I don't
Oh,
think
it
so.
doesn't. No, it's definitely not. He doesn't have
No.
blonde hair.
Yeah, it's not.
That guy had blonde hair.
I don't think it is. Yeah.
No, no, no. Okay.
All right.
Just happenstance that that's a Mourinho. All right.
Should
So what else? What other games
should we
can we talk about?
we should head over to Stamford Bridge, and this is Brighton coming to town. Brighton that Chelsea eviscerated in the Graham Potter situation earlier in the year, gutted their coach and their back office and all that stuff. And now Brighton find themselves 4 positions ahead of Chelsea in the table and 7 points, or what is it? Yeah, 7 points greater than Chelsea at this point in the season. Might be a levels game. I don't know. Brighton probably feel aggrieved that they got nothing out of the Spurs match last weekend. They probably feel like that they should have at least had a draw, and they get nothing out of that match.
We hashed that out.
We did check our review episode from Wednesday, and you can hear our take on that whole situation. We're not going to relitigate it here, but Chelsea. At time of recording, Chelsea got slammed. Slammed in the Champions League is probably unfair. They lost to Madrid in the Champions League, which was expected. But the loss last weekend to Wolves feels really bad. So like the rain cloud, that dark gray rain cloud, just keeps floating. It just keeps following Chelsea wherever they go right now. And so I absolutely could see Brighton coming to Stamford Bridge and getting points here.
My only question out of this game is De Zerbi suspended for it?
Ooh, I think he should be.
Because of the red.
I think he probably should be.
That's not an opinion base. I was looking for fact there, but I do not know the answer. When a manager gets a red, are they suspended for the next game?
Well, do you remember?
I don't know that, but they should be.
Do you remember?
But I do remember when Tuchel and Conte were suspended, but nobody actually got suspended.
Yeah, well, and the situation there was that they hadn't done the appeal yet. I don't know if like the FA has litigated that case yet. I don't know the situation, but I forget who it was. Klopp. I think it was Klopp that was talking. It's like if you get a red card, you're suspended for a game. And then Conte was just
no, it was Marsh.
Oh, it was Jesse Marsh. That's right.
It was Jesse Marsh.
Yeah.
Like, hey, I know I'm from America, but my understanding of football is that if you get a red card, you miss the next game.
Yeah, that's right.
So I don't know why I'm facing Tuchel in the next game.
Yep, I remember that. Yeah. So
yeah, that's who it was. Yeah.
He should probably be suspended, but I don't know if he will be or not. I'm not sure about that specifically.
I'm just curious how that's going to be adjudicated, because I've watched the video back a couple times, even since the weekend.
Yeah.
Stellini had nothing to do with it other than not controlling his bench. Honestly, he was ignoring the shit out of De Zerbi, which clearly was pissing him off. Yeah. That he wanted some type of reaction that Stellini was not giving him. And it came to blows with the assistants that Stellini was just standing there stoically staring at the field.
That's hilarious.
And Stellini still got a red, which is fine. Like I said on the review, I get it. You can't control your staff. You get the red card. Yep. I got it. I'm understanding about it, but to suspend him would be ridiculous.
I wonder, like, if De Zerbi is suspended, is he allowed to be in the stands? I think he has to be allowed to be like in the owner's box in that area.
And I wonder if they have like
and they sit next to the guy with the phone with the radio.
Like a baseball
walkie-talkie,
Apple Watch situation, like they do in baseball.
They go to the 1970s phone wall and they open it up and they call the bullpen. Yeah. And there's just a phone down there in the dugout.
Baseball's so fucking archaic. It's phoning down to the. Like, I don't know.
I think they do it because it's like not interferable, right? Like it's just one single.
Is it not?
Well, like it's just.
Is it not? I think in 1970s Watergate proved that was interferable.
Yes, if you have access to the phone lines, but if it's just like a direct
Jesus.
phone line under the ground, directly there, like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
I think Caddyshack proved that wrong too.
Yeah, I'm
That some
okay.
gopher could get to that.
To be fair, I'm sure that the Astros will find a way to hack it.
Yes.
Anyway, um, I don't know.
It just seems archaic.
It
That just
certainly is. It certainly is. Um,
seems archaic that we have line judges to begin with.
well, I mean, we might not have line judges much longer if they're elbowing people. And
Other than to just call fouls that happen to be close to the touch line, I don't see why we have line judges. Just use the computer to tell you if it's offsides or not.
well, I mean, that is with the semi-automated offsides. That's what they're doing, right? Like, it's just able to just tell it
Just
instantly.
just instantly tell the main ref if it's offsides or not. The main ref is important. He sets a tone to the game. I'm gonna allow this. I'm not gonna allow this. I got you. Offsides is offsides. We don't need the side judges.
Yeah, I mean,
Like
I
we don't need a dude running no, not even 9 miles a game up and down 50 yards, just back and forth with the offense.
I
We
don't
don't
know.
need that.
I think that they have. I think that their value at this point is more just being an extra set of eyes for looking for fouls. And I think if that's what they're all they're concerned with, I think that's a valuable.
That's what I said.
Yep.
Other than checking fouls at the
Yep.
touch line that the main ref can't see.
Who's
Anyways,
who's
we got
winning?
off on a tangent.
Who's winning this match? Chelsea Brighton. You
It's
got
Brighton.
Frank Fat Frank.
No, it's 100% Brighton.
So it's interesting because I think the Champions League should be back around next midweek as well. And I mean, like, Chelsea only lost 2-0 to Madrid. So, like, they could approach this Brighton match and say the Premier League doesn't matter. We're gonna rest our players from Madrid, and like we can overturn a 2-0 deficit.
Which players? Their first 22 or their second 22?
Yeah, so they'll ignore all of the. Well, Ben Chilwell obviously has to play against Brighton because he got a red card against Madrid, so he can't play in the return match. So
Was it because did he get a red card because he has bad hair and looks like he's an extra in The Godfather?
yeah, I think that's what it was. I think the ref just came over and looked at him and just shook his head and just sent him right off because it was pretty
Yeah.
disgusting.
Why do you comb your hair back like that? No one does that anymore. You're not going to be in Peaky Blinders.
He gets bad advice, I'm sure. I'm sure it's just down to bad advice. Someone probably told him that it looked cute in like the early thousands, and he just has never gotten past that point in his life. He's just like that. Cindy on the playground told me it looked cute, and I'm just.
Are you telling me that's why I do this with my hair?
I don't know if Cindy on the playground told you that was cute back in the day, but we could check the tape.
Yeah.
I kind of agree. I think Brighton's going to win this match. I think Brighton are more interested in playing in the Premier League, and I think that their squad right now is just better. And of course, we're going to say this, and Brad's going to text us on Saturday when Chelsea score 4 goals, and he's going to be like, "Oh, we're back," and I'm just going to be like, "Bro, go away."
I think Brighton. All right. I was about to say something I was going to regret.
I think you should say it for sure.
I think Brighton have better players.
You don't.
I'm not. Yes, I do. It's just like if you just throw together, you know what it's like? What Chelsea are doing is just like when you cook a meal and you just throw a whole bunch of spices in it and hope it tastes good, and then you eat it and it's nasty.
Yeah. Well,
That's Chelsea.
They're like a Frankenstein team. They just like grab like different players with like no real rhyme or reason and try and fit them onto a team that works.
Well, it was something that came up that I think we talked about, but about how
Oh, you talking about that tweet?
one,
The tweet.
the tweet about
Yeah.
about a one of the top whatever he calls them what does Brad call them, like a top level
I don't
influencer or person around Chelsea.
Yeah.
Said I don't understand how Man City gets 90% of their signings right, and we can't get anything right. And I responded to him and was just like, it's called recruiting.
Yeah, scouting. Like look at a player before you sign him.
You just sign names and people that other teams are going after for more money than they were going after them for.
They're just out here throwing darts and hoping that they
Yeah.
land.
And then they land every once in a while, and then they win the Champions League and think they're good. Like, all right, well, like I said at last podcast,
I mean,
you throw a couple $100 million.
that's the
Like I
thing.
was wrong against Madrid, but like you throw
That's
a
the,
couple $100 million players on the field, and
it's the thing about Chelsea is like they have good players. Like I don't think anyone is going
yeah,
to. No one's
they
going to
don't
sit here.
play well together.
But yes, that's the problem. Is like what is their what is their ethos? Like what is their game plan? Like what are they trying to accomplish? And of course, they're obviously in a transitional period right now. But that's why you don't sack your manager 3 times in a season. It's simple as that. I think we want to wrap up tonight, kind of looking at 2 matches somewhat concurrently. We want to look at City Leicester and West Ham Arsenal kind of together, because we've got both the teams going for the title, and then 2 teams who are trying to avoid relegation. So obviously Leicester are in a more precarious position than West Ham. West Ham have gotten some results recently and put a little bit of distance between them and the bottom. They're not safe. They're only 3 points away from 18th. So like West Ham by no means are safe. Leicester are they need some help. They need to get some points here. And so they bring Dean Smith in as an interim manager. And Dean Smith, of course,
The most uninspiring manager hire of all time.
I don't know what you're talking about. Dean Smith is the truth. He is going to pick up points in matches. We got faith in Dean Smith.
Your faith is blind, my friend.
Yeah. City are going to score about 7 past this Leicester team. They have no.
Dean Smith does strike me, because we talked about it last pod. Dean Smith does strike me as the type of person who would walk in and be like, "All right, boys, what did the last manager do?"
I don't know. I don't think that's. I think Dean Smith is kind of like he's going to come in and be like, no
not
bullshit.
That he doesn't. He's like, but he comes in and he's like, "Hey, what do you guys know? What are you guys comfortable with?"
True. Okay, I see what you're saying.
Okay, that formation. All right, here's what I got off of that.
Yeah.
I got a good game plan off of what you guys know. What you're comfortable with, he's got it.
I mean, Dean Smith strikes me as the manager that's like no nonsense, like put a shift in, work hard, and see what you get out of it. Not quite to the same level as like Sean Dyche. Like Sean Dyche seems to be more of like the just run forever and try really hard and just be at every 50-50 and win everything. And we're going to play 4-4-2 and we're not going to be complicated. We're going to hoof the ball up and we're going to score a goal. And then we're just going to put 11 behind the ball and just defend. I don't, Dean Smith does not strike me as that type of manager. He's a little bit more, I think he's less pragmatic than Sean Dyche is. But they have, this Leicester team has shown very little signs of life, in my opinion, this season. Like, yes, they get an occasional win, and they have good players. That's the problem, is that Leicester have good players. They just look so terribly uninterested in playing football this year, for whatever reason. For whatever reason it is. I know a couple players, their deals are winding down, but
the crazy part was like when Brendan left, there were so many like heartfelt goodbyes from the players.
They all liked him.
Genuinely were sad to see him go. So when you see uninspired football, normally you would assume that that's a lame duck manager. Everyone was waiting for him to go. And then he goes and you see so many heartfelt messages from the players. You're just like,
I think,
all right, maybe that's saving face. But when it starts adding up, when it's Madison and he's trying to get a job somewhere else, you get that. But when it's other players, you're like, okay, maybe the players actually really love this guy.
I think that's the difference. I think that Leicester have a lot of lame duck players. Big name players that are on contracts that are winding down, that feel like their future isn't at Leicester anymore, and they're just kind of like, I don't really care. If we get relegated, it doesn't matter to me because I'm not going to be playing here next year. That's the vibe I get from Leicester this year, is that there's too many players that just don't care because they feel like they'll be playing somewhere else next year. And so I think that City are gonna destroy them. In the same regard, West Ham. I don't know how to read this. Arsenal should beat West Ham, and Arsenal have beaten West Ham. I think like 4 out of the last 5 times they've played or something like that. Like Arsenal have a very good record recently against West Ham. So it's not necessarily a big concern per se. And if you look at the table, then you would assume that Arsenal should beat them. I assume that Arsenal will beat them. And so it kind of seems to me that like when we look at this situation at the top of the table, I think we'll have another week where there's not any real movement per se, and that the gap's not gonna diminish. It shouldn't grow. Because both of these teams have way too much for either one of the teams. City and Arsenal both have way too much for Leicester and West Ham to deal with, respectively. In terms of attack, in terms of defense, I just don't see a world where either one of these teams loses. The top 2 teams, that is. I'm not just saying that as an Arsenal fan, but it just seems that way.
It just reminds me. These 2 games entirely just remind me of my favorite pickup line.
Oh, do that. Okay.
My favorite pickup line is everybody calls me Arsenal because I start on first, but I finish second.
Bro, that's messed up. You take that back. Arsenal's gonna.
No.
They're gonna finish first.
No.
We'll see. I don't know. It all comes down to City in a couple weeks. All comes down to City in a couple weeks.
I do want to, before we part.
Okay.
I do want to let you know on some Spurs news. If I were the general manager, sporting director, is there an open invitation? Like, can I apply to be the sporting director of Tottenham?
You send an email.
I don't know if there's an application. Okay.
There's got to be an email. Yeah, there's got to be an email you can send one to.
All right. Frankfurt has confirmed they will not be re-signing Dachi Kamada, their left winger.
Yeah.
Free. Just sign him.
I mean, Daniel Levy does like free.
He likes free.
He is a big fan of free.
You know who likes free more than Daniel Levy? Is Paratici, but he's in jail somewhere.
Well, hold on. He's not in jail yet.
I don't think he's going to jail, but he's going to. Well, he might not be in jail, but he is suspended from football operations for at least a year.
Well, it's pending.
It is unclear whether he'll return after that year's up. But free is top of the line. Perisic was a top of the line signing for.
Free is a good price.
Free is a great. Kamada, even if he doesn't work out, it was free.
Yeah.
It was free.
I mean, yeah.
Just sign him. Sign him now.
All right. You heard it here first. Sean's trying to replace.
That's a like for like left wing transfer.
We're selling Son apparently. We're blowing up the team this summer.
We're just preparing for the inevitable. We're just prepared. This is what smart teams do. Prepare for the inevitable. Son's getting old.
All right.
Kane's getting old. Like, just prepare. Just put their.
Blow it up. Blow the team up. I'm here for it.
I'm not saying blow the team up. Just get prepared.
Blow it up. Blow it up. Sell Kane to Chelsea so he can live it miserable at Stamford Bridge, and everyone can be miserable together.
Their small stadium, small. I just imagine all their fans have small hands. They're just like shaking their hands, just like, nice to meet you.
I don't think I've ever once thought about Chelsea fans' hands.
It's just the stadium is small, their egos are small.
And their hands are small?
The hands got to be small. When you add that all up,
all right. Well,
their mouths are just making up for something that doesn't exist.
Well, Chelsea fans, what you guys got to do is you guys got to get on YouTube and use your small hands to type out a YouTube comment. And
it might take you a while once you type out like this because your hands don't fit the keyboard.
All right. We're done. Watch some Premier League football this weekend. Let us know in the comments what you'll be watching. Hit us up on Twitter. And that guy who is being ridiculous, that's at @whiteheart_Sean. I'm at James Tiffany. At KS Brad G is not with us tonight. He should be back next week. I hope he's back next week, or we might need to find a new third.
Jimmy, what are you doing next week?
Yeah, Jimmy, Joel, what's going on? Let's just not have Brad next week and have both Jimmy and Joel next week.
Yeah, Liverpool, Newcastle.
Yeah, that sounds good to me. That sounds good to me.
Yeah.
All right, yeah. So we'll be back next week with a full round of episodes. We got a review, news, and preview all coming next week. If you haven't seen anything from this week, check those out too.
We'll have the first sanctioned Red Car Radio fight of not our teams. Well, Newcastle and Jimmy just battle it out.
Yeah. Let Joel and Jimmy just come to blows.
Yeah.
I'm here for it. All right, check back
and
in
we'll
next
be referees.
Week.
We'll be Joe Rogan on the side of UFC fights.
Do I get to be Joe Rogan, or do you get to be Joe Rogan?
I don't. Yeah, but I don't know who's beside Joe Rogan.
Yeah, I don't know what his name is.
I'll be the other guy. You be Joe Rogan.
Okay, sounds good. All right. Well, come back next week, and we might have some shenanigans for you. We can find a good synonym for a word. I think you sent me a list earlier today, and we can peruse that list of words. Check out all the episodes this week if you haven't already. Leave a comment, join our Discord, hit us up on Twitter, all those things. We really appreciate you listening. Thanks so much, and we will see you guys next week. Enjoy some football this weekend. It's going to be a good one. Good night.